The Politics show is brought to you, as always, by patreon.com/JURY. Come be a part of the team, friends. We got new stuff happening all the time over here at patreon.com/JURY. Of course, we have the normal. If you are at $3 or more, you get the headline podcast. You also get for free, whether or not you're a patron, head on over there to patreon.com/JURY. Every single morning, I give you the headlines that I'm looking at, that I build, the show on. This is 5 days a week. Also, we have stuff like this. We're doing more political content right here on twitch.tv/JustinRYoung. And we are doing audio versions of that for the patrons. It's a great time, man. Head on over there, patreon.com/JURY. But enough of talking about how we do the show. What do you say we just do the damn thing?
Politics, 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 politics. Yes. Come on, come on, come on.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Politics program. My name is Justin Robert Young. We are getting the show on the road. We're gonna do a politics show for you today. Hey, friends, how are we doing? I'm gonna let you guys know that I wanted this to go back to kind of something that we haven't done for a while. And that is talk a little bit of international stuff. You know, like we do have a lot of international news in the world today. We are going to talk about some of the stuff that does relate to the United States. But right now, Britain's in a very, very interesting place. We've got a plot to kill the Prime Minister of the UK, Theresa May. This popped up today in front of my face. Islamist suicide plot to assassinate Prime Minister Theresa May foiled. Right? That's big news. And then meanwhile, Theresa May, when she's not having attempts on her life foiled, she is trying to negotiate Brexit. And guess what, dog? It ain't exactly going super well. She wanted to try and get it done at this economics summit, but apparently the Democratic Union of Ireland, DUP, was that it? Oh man, no, my link died. But she's struggling to keep whatever she can going here. It's a problem. There's a big issue. The Democratic Unionist Party, that's it. The DUP, they're blocking her. So this is taking a while. Meanwhile, there are counterinsurgent calls for a new Brexit referendum, which kind of seems like bullshit, right? Like you can't get halfway. It's like, all right, we're all going to decide that we are going to leave. Well, here, again, tacos versus pizza. We're all going to decide on tacos. Well, now it's it's a hard time for us to get these tacos because, the negotiating with the restaurant, it's a pain in the ass. So you can't just say, all right, now we get pizza. No, you have to wait it out. Everybody voted for tacos. Not everybody. Enough people voted for tacos. Everybody's going to get tacos. But we're not even going to get a chance to talk about that today. We're not. Instead, we're going to talk about the stuff that I wanted to kind of avoid because, to be totally honest with you, I was a little tired of it. So tired of talking about Congress. Obviously, next week's going to be very much dominated by what happens in Alabama. the 12th, right? But, now that the tax cut thing passed, I hate talking about Congress. Congress is just so boring. Just a bunch of little remora fish, just like everybody's just so callow. I mean, in a way, it's me complaining. I'm the one who loves politics uber alles, right? Like, I'm the one who loves the callous machinations of politics more than I love the passion behind it. But even I OD on frosting when you look at Congress. And it's literally nobody wants to do anything until the opinion polls shift. It's just kind of gross. It's a grody, gross world. And I was done. I was done. But just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. This was the news today from Politico, and I put this story specifically in the PX3 headlines. Another woman says Franken forcibly tried to kiss her. The Minnesota senator is accused of making an unwanted sexual advance after a taping of his radio show in 2006. He denies the allegation. Let's just skip to the quote here. The former staffer ducked to avoid Franken's lips as she hastily left the room. She said Franken told her, "It's my right as an entertainer. He was between me and the door, and he was coming at me to kiss me. It was very quick, and I think my brain had to work really hard to be like, wait, what is happening? But I know whatever was happening was not right, and I ducked," the aide said in an interview. "I was really startled by it, and I just booked it to the door and he said, it's my right as an entertainer." Now, let's also remember, this is when he was doing his radio show in 2006. Like, we do remember the radio show he was doing was on Air America. It was the nascent germ that would eventually kind of flower fully into what we now know as MSNBC. A lot of the same talent came from Air America. Air America at the time was the answer to right-wing radio. It was left-wing radio. So you had a lot of, the Sam Saders of the world, the Al Frankens, Randy Rhoads, a lot of these personalities that have, gone on to continue to become big people. Al Franken, a senator now. I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is that an aide at Air America would not be somebody that you would be able to say is like a conservative activist. And we are inching ever closer to double digits on the accusations on Al Frankens. Oh, I don't know if it had another mutation, if it was America's Talking and Air America. Air America was the initial one. I don't know if it was what it was in 2006. All I know is this. This might have been the straw that broke the camel's back. Because now people are coming out of the woodwork to say that Al Franken must indeed step down. Kamala Harris says it. Let me see. Who else? Let's go through the list here of who on Twitter. This is all breaking right beforehand. And by the way, Ninja Steve in our chat points out, this is the first thing I thought about. It's my right as an entertainer. Does sound an awful lot like when you're a star, they let you do it. That's just me. I'm not saying. So, Bob Casey says, I agree with my colleagues who have stepped forward today and called on Senator Franken to resign. We can't just believe women when it's convenient. We also had Kamala Harris, ascendant star in California. Sexual harassment and misconduct should not be allowed by anyone, and should not occur anywhere. I believe it's the best thing for Senator Franken to step down. Now, if you really want to get sassy, this is also one likely Democratic primary contestant taking out another possible Democratic primary contestant. But Franken was kind of always, Franken was kind of always close to being toast because he is in a state with a Democratic governor. They can appoint another Democrat so they won't lose the seat. I don't quite know exactly how well liked Al Franken is by his colleagues. But if he is not well liked, then that's a possibility. That's a possibility that he's going to be out. And by the way, he is now scheduled to make an announcement for tomorrow. So by the time that you are listening to this podcast, unless you are listening to it on Wednesday night, if you are listening to it on Thursday or Friday, then there's a very good chance that Al Franken might be out when you hear these dulcet tones. Now, I told you on this very, very show that John Conyers and Al Franken were part of, part of the reason why I thought that the Democrats were wasting high ground in what is a huge possible battle for them, which is in Alabama. Because I believe that they are sacrificing the moral high ground, and they are not making this a national issue if they don't. Now, will Franken step down? That's going to be up to Franken. John Conyers said he will not seek re-election. There's now a family feud. To stop, to see which other Conyers is going to take the Conyers seat. But this is my point. Sided in the chat says the GOP doesn't care. Dems will cut off their nose to spite their face. What I said last week, and I will say to you again, I believe that Doug Jones is closer to getting elected if that race becomes more of a national story. The more this has become a national story, the better Doug Jones has done. The more that it stayed a local race, the better that Judge Roy Moore has done. So if I am the Democratic Party, and granted, the Democratic Party is as we learned in the Donna Brazile book, a headless horseman. By the way, I'm done reading the Donna Brazile book. We got to do our Campaign Chaos book club because we have another book coming out. Corey Lewandowski wrote a book about the Trump campaign that we got to get into. Because it is my belief that Corey Lewandowski is kind of a crazy person. I believe that Corey Lewandowski is kind of a loon. And just even the shit he wrote in that book, he apparently torches Paul Manafort. We got to get in on it. So hopefully sometime within the next week, I'll let you guys know when we're going to do our Campaign Chaos book club. But this is your final warning. Finish hacks. Finish hacks and write me in your thought about hacks, theyoungamerican@gmail.com. And we're going to get to more about Judge Roy Moore in a little bit when we get to the pole dance. But yeah, I think, At a certain point, if you're Al Franken, you can't survive the drip, drip, drip in this environment. You can't. Because each time you apologize, when somebody else comes out of the woodwork and accuses you of something like that, then they're like, wait a minute, so what, do you apologize again? Is that apology hollow? Like, how are we supposed to handle this? It's just hard. It's a hard thing to do. Here's something that will definitely have some reverberations over the next couple weeks, maybe years, or maybe days. You never know. You never know with this kind of stuff. Donald Trump has in a announcement earlier today made official that Jerusalem will be recognized as the capital of Israel, and the United States will move its embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, the Israeli embassy. This has been met with tremendous resistance, specifically from the Arab world, because they believe that Jerusalem is the capital of Palestine. It is disputed territory, famously. I don't know if you heard it. Stop me if you heard it. But apparently there's some issue about land out there in old Israel. But Donald Trump kept his campaign promise. This is a strong statement of solidarity with Israel. Let's go ahead and read from Mike Allen of Axios. He titled his post today, Trump versus the Pope on Middle East Peace. Pope Francis added his voice this morning to Arab, Muslim, and European objections to Donald Trump's plan today to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital, a move that could trigger violence in the region, derail a developing U.S. Mideast peace plan, and infuriate key allies in the Arab world and the West. The Pope said he was, quote-unquote, profoundly concerned and asked that everybody respect the status quo of the city. He called on the world for, quote, wisdom and prudence to avoid further conflict. Turkish and Deputy Prime Minister Bekir Bozdağ said recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital would be an act of madness and would plunge the region into fire with no end in sight. Trump gave a statement at 1 p.m. today. Barak Ravid of Israel's Channel 10 News, writing on Axios, says the challenge for Trump is how to fulfill his campaign promise of moving the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem and still get a peace deal between Israel and the Palestinians to prevent a wave of violence across the West Bank and the Middle East. So here's the thing. There are, in my mind, I mean, look, stop me if you heard this one. This is some complicated shit, right? And there are no such thing as easy answers when it comes to settling the Israeli question. However, here are the pros, here are the cons. The pros. This is a campaign promise Donald Trump has followed through on. This shows solidarity with the most effective and the most effective representative democracy in the Middle East, which is Israel. If we are, as America, in the business of promoting representative democracies because we believe that freedom should ring around the world, then we should be backing up places where it is hard to do. And there has been, relative to other periods in history, a relatively sustainable era of peace in the Middle East compared to, let's say, the intifadas of the 90s. So the question is now whether or not the violence of that era will return. If it doesn't, you can make the argument to say, look, we all gave up something. Now, Israel, you have the American embassy. You have America recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. let's move forward on a peace agreement. Here are the cons. Number one, hey, we've had a relatively sustained period of peace. Why are we going to fuck with it? Number two, our Arab allies are just as, if not more important now than they were 10 years ago, considering the mess that has been left in Syria and Iraq and Lebanon. So when we have things like ISIS and ISIL going, creating chaos, what we need is more Arab allies, not less Arab allies. There's a reason why you also hear Turkey mentioned a lot here, because Turkey specifically is a very important piece of what happens in Iraq, since they share a border with Iraq, and the Kurds of northern Iraq are a very touchy subject for Turkey. Turkey has a large Kurdish population. The more that we recognize the Kurds in northern Iraq, the Peshmerga army, the less Turkey likes it, because they don't want an insurrection on their hands. They don't want their Kurds asking for independence. So, I have a hard time coming down with any kind of confidence on whether or not this is a disaster or not, because I really don't think that, even though relative to other periods in history things have been fairly calm, it's not like we're breaking up the 27 Yankees here with the Mideast peace process. We weren't very close to a Mideast peace, signing a Mideast peace deal or an Israeli-Palestinian two-state solution yesterday, right? You could make a very good argument to say that at the status quo, we would remain in this position. Really, the biggest thing that I can see from this in terms of the American perspective is the most pro-Israel American move that we have had in 12 years. Like, figure Obama was not, the Israelis did not love Obama. And as much as you would suspect George W. Bush would have had a pro-Israel agenda, past 9/11, Arab allies became a very important thing. Currently right now, there are tremendous protests. We're going to see exactly how much this violence sparks up and how long it lasts. But there's no doubt that it's upsetting the apple cart. Parking Dog says, if I remember correctly, Bill Clinton offered Abbas everything he wanted and he bailed. No, that was Arafat. He offered Arafat. That, according to Bill Clinton, is his greatest regret. He has lingering anger toward Yasser Arafat because he was not able to cement his legacy. Clinton wanted that. Bill wanted that very, very badly, to be the guy who signed the two-state solution. Abbas came after post-Arafat of the Palestinian Authority. Regrets. He has a few. So my official statement on recognizing Jerusalem is it's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it plays out for him. I mean, honestly, like, what would anybody expect anybody to say about this? Like, everybody can have opinions. Everybody can say, this is breaking here. According to the AFP, Mahmoud Abbas, leader of the Palestinian Authority, says that the U.S. can no longer be a peace broker after their decision on Jerusalem. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. Bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it plays out for him. Ultimately, we're going to have to be the peace broker because nobody else wants to fucking put their face in that buzzsaw. Right? Who else is lining up to solve the Middle East peace process? Who? Who? Go ahead and take a look. Take a look over your shoulder. Russia would be happy to broker peace talks, says Sidon. China would be happy. Let's see. All right, let's talk about this. Let's move on to something a little less controversial. Dennis Rodman. This is currently under debate by the Supreme Court. They just heard oral arguments yesterday. The case about a Christian wedding cake company in Colorado. Christian cake company in Colorado. Say that one 5 times fast. I mean, we'll see. I was gonna talk about this, but now I don't know. I mean, what? It's a Supreme Court, right? This isn't about politics. It's about court cases. The Masterpiece Cake Shop denied a gay couple, Charlie Craig and Devin Mullins, a custom-designed cake in Lakewood, Colorado. Yeah, it's going to decide Colorado. I'm not going to talk about it. How about that? I'm not going to talk about it. It was on my list. I'm defying myself. F you, myself. All right, whatever. I'm moving on. I mean, this is, yes, we've already had these stories. Now the issue is exactly, how much, now it's going to the Supreme Court, basically. All right, fuck it. We're going to talk about Doug Jones. Here we go. I'm going to give you my Rush Limbaugh guarantee of the week. Welcome back. I want to point something out to everybody listening that, you will all be smarter for listening to this impression of El Rushbo as I pontificate from the highest point of intellectual honesty. I want everybody to be very, very clear, right? Be very oriented as you are watching CNN, any of your drive-by media 24-hour news networks. You're reading the New York Times. Want you to be very, very clear. Because something is going to happen, and it's going to happen soon, Snurdly. Yes. No, it will. It will happen soon. That the graphics, pay attention to the graphics. If you're not aware, graphics are the pictures, many times moving pictures that you will see behind all of the talking heads. Because something is going to happen very quickly. It will. Snurdly, watch. The graphics will no longer say, I'm predicting that this will happen in my tremendous cranial capacity. I am predicting this will happen within the next month, within the next 2 months. The graphics on the Mueller investigation will undergo a Kafkaesque metamorphosis. Yes. Startling, The Metamorphosis by Kafka. A man who finds himself transitioning into a bug. Snurdly. Classic of literature. These graphics will go from point A, the Russia investigation. That will be our Gregor. And it will end with the obstruction investigation. That will be our Roach in the Kafkaesque tradition. Snurdly, yeah. Again, you will know that the worm has turned in this when the graphics go from the Russia investigation to the obstruction investigation. We'll be back. I'm going to eat an entire party sub. I believe that is my Rush Limbaugh guarantee of the week. I think that this is something you're going to see because I think that the focus of this investigation is changing. And that's it. Look, I think that the Mueller investigation, there's going to be shit's going to get nasty there. Like I do believe that shit is just going to get fucking nasty there because now you have the one the one agent who has been dismissed for anti-Trump rhetoric. There's now word that they tried to corner Flynn, or they did corner Flynn without a lawyer. Shit's gonna get partisan. It's gonna get partisan quick, and I do believe that now we're going to move to a phase where I've always thought the idea that Trump coordinated with Russia was going to A, be very hard to prove, and B, was kind of a dubious thing to begin with. If Flynn has flipped, like I told you before, if it happened, we're gonna find out because he's the guy that would know. And he's cooperating with the state. But I think this is going to be about obstruction. I think that's where Trump's lawyers seem to think it's going. All of their messaging has been about obstruction, obstruction, obstruction. It seems like that's where they're going with Flynn and Mueller. So we'll see. At that point, the question is, will there be charges? And if there are charges, exactly how long they will last. Scout Captain in the chat says, obstruct what? We'll all find out together. But I do think that we are going to see we're going to see the way this is covered shift. It's going to be let's prove that Russia talked to Trump to let's prove that Trump stopped this investigation because he's hiding something. That's what I think. That's where I think this is going. That's why it's my Rush Limbaugh guarantee of the week. Let's move to somebody who I think is just fucking trying too much. Senator Jeff Flake of Arizona. You remember him. He gave a very Sorkin-esque speech when he announced that he was not going to be running for re-election in Arizona. He has now decided that he will weigh in on the Roy Moore, Doug Jones issue by tweeting out last night, "Country over party." It's a check from him and his wife, Cheryl, December 5th, 2017, made out to Doug Jones for U.S. Senate, $100, country over party. I mean, let me ask the liberals. Who is this impressing? Just the liberals here in the chat room. I just want to ask the liberals in the chat room. The Hill Dogs. The Bernie Bros. Let me ask y'all. Does that impress you? Jeff Flake writing $100 to Doug Jones a week before the election? Like, I just don't, like, I mean, obviously he's trying to carve out a new niche, right? You know, he's trying to be the, never Trump. Well, then let me ask this. How about for the never Trumpers? Never Trumpers in the audience. The people that are conservative, but just hate Trump. Because it kind of seems like he's really working hard to be liked. You know, it seems like he's just kind of like on Twitter, and he's just like, oh, what would get a lot of RTs? This one got a lot of RTs, 49,000 retweets, 183,000 likes. I mean, I think it was good for like 5 minutes. But I'm with J.C. Calhoun. It seems like a token symbolic gesture to get himself back in the spotlight. I don't know what the hell he's going to do unless he, I mean, the big play for Flake and what he's probably setting up doing, if he dares to do it, is to run against Donald Trump in the in a normally never seen primary challenge from a sitting president. Does the Doug Jones campaign have Venmo? J.C. Calhoun asks, well, who writes checks anymore? How about a Venmo? I mean, I'll tell you what. I'd be curious. I'm just going to set up a Venmo and just see if anybody wants to pay me money. I'm shocked I have not seen my first homeless person out here in the Bay Area with a Venmo. I feel like that would be the way to go. All right. What do you say we just go ahead and stay on this issue? Let's stay on this issue. We've talked a lot about it. We've talked about Doug Jones and Roy Moore. There is 1 week to go. It is a hell of a pressure cooker. But there's only one way to take the pulse of the race, and that is to clear your mind. Yes. Yes, that is to clear your mind. It is to relax a little bit. It is to understand. Take a look at the numbers of this race and allow yourself to be transformed. No longer are you looking at a spreadsheet. No. Now you feel. Close your eyes, ladies and gentlemen, as I guide you through this meditation. You're no longer at your desk. You're no longer paying attention to a special election in a state that you probably don't live in. You are no longer assuming that a race in Alabama now determines the entire moral fate of the country, nay, the world. No. Now follow me as now you are transported. You are transported to it's a red carpet. Yes. You see limos to your left. You see a gold door to your right. It is now being opened. It is now being opened for you. You smell the unmistakable smell of overly cologned individuals. You hear the clanking in the back of your ear of gold chains. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Because, folks, we have been transported into a not one, but two-stage edition of the Politics Alabama special election.
Get on the floor if you got that booty.
Dance. Our first stage, please bring your attention to the Gravis stage. The Gravis stage. We have performers here who have honed their acts from December 1st to December 3rd. Surrounding the stage is 1,276 likely voters with a 2.7% margin of error. Can I please get Roy Moore to the stage? Again, Roy Moore to the stage. Doug Jones, you're up next. Coming up first, he is the judge who says it's never too early to get a head start. With 44% of the vote, it is the Republican candidate, Roy Moore. But your headliner, ooh, it's rare, baby. Ooh, it's rare to get a Democrat elected in Alabama, and yet here he is. With 48% of the vote, it's Doug Jones. That is Doug Jones, a Democrat in Alabama with less than 2 weeks to go with a 4-point lead above the margin of error. That is a 4-point spread. But we now turn our attention to the WBRC TV strategy research stage. This is taken on December 4th with 3,200 likely voters surrounding. This is a margin of error of 2. Doug Jones, please report to the stage. Roy Moore, you're up next. Here we go. First to the stage. He is the Democrat. He might have a donkey's ass chance to get elected in this red state, but goddamn it, he's giving it his best. 43% of the vote. It is Doug Jones. But it doesn't matter how many yearbooks he signed. The number one man in this is Judge Roy Moore. A 7-point spread. And that is your pole dance for this edition of the Politics podcast. Let's spend a little time on this because this is the last time that we're going to have to talk about it before the election. I don't know what can happen. I don't know if Santa has a December surprise for Judge Roy Moore. But here's what we do know. Donald Trump gave him a full-throated endorsement on Monday. That meant that the RNC, which made clear in their statement on the matter, is the political arm of the president. If the president says he has his endorsement, the RNC, which had cut off funding to Judge Roy Moore, was now going to start paying him in. They turned the money faucet back on. My point of view, like I said earlier, like I said last week, like I'm going to say next week, is that if it's a local race, Judge Roy Moore wins because Democrats don't win in Alabama. Now, here is an interesting thing that we're going to pay attention to. Because what you hear when you listen to people who analyze the polls is that there is a fundamental disagreement between a lot of these polls. And folks, just go ahead and look at Real Clear Politics, and you're going to see a very, very interesting differentiation when it comes to this race. Both of these polls that I just read came out on the 5th. But go ahead and take a look at this. These are the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 polls. JMC Analytics, Washington Post, CBS News, Emerson, Gravis, and WBRC. So we read those top 2. But here are the other 4. And these are all taken within, they're either overlapping or taken within 2 days of each other. Moore +5, Jones +3, Moore +6, Moore +3. There is a differentiation of how many Democrats these polls believe are going to come and vote next Tuesday. This is something that nobody really knows. So there is a chance, if the Gravis poll and the Washington Post poll are correct, and more Democrats are going to come out compared to less Democrats, that Doug Jones has a shot. In my opinion, I don't. I think it is a remarkable achievement that Doug Jones came this close. But I got a hard time believing that he is going to win, despite the fact that, Roy Moore has so much shit on him. By the way, there is the fact that Democrats might not be so pissed that Roy Moore comes in. Because here's the one thing that Roy Moore is absolutely unequivocal of. He says all that, dating teenagers and being kicked out of the mall thing. That's not true. Here's something he does say is true. He is there to fuck with Mitch McConnell. He is there to be a chaos agent amongst the GOP Senate. He is there to vote for new leadership. So if that's the case, and the Republicans are even more split than they are now, it's not the end of the world. Specifically, if we are still, as we are all year, keeping our eye on the Wave Watch. Because although taking the Senate is a long shot for the Democrats, if they were to be able to, having your opposition be at open war with each other is something that you'd be pretty pumped about. All right, everybody, let's go ahead and get into But Your Emails. You can go ahead and write us, theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Again, theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Still taking your emails about answers on mental health. Answers on mental health. Specifically when it comes to guns. So a lot of the argument is this is a mental health issue. This isn't a gun issue. My question is totally with open palms. Then let's try to solve mental health. Let's go ahead and bring up solutions. Eric writes, I worked in the prison and disability system for a while, and here's what I noticed. The biggest issue with mental health is that no one can be forced to take their meds. It's a rights issue. The smaller issue is that MDs prescribing drugs that further mess up people's brain chemistry. So if you have a small mental health issue and you get prescribed meds that may help you cope, but not fundamentally change your chemistry forever. If you need to stay on mental health meds for safety and drop off the same meds, won't work in the same concentrations. Concentrations that are established through trial and error over months. This was a huge issue with schizophrenic clients and is responsible for most of your homeless population. To make the current gun mental health issue better, you need to stop allowing non-mental health specialists to prescribe mental health drugs and allow mental health issues to be discussed with a person's support system, aka their family and friends. So Stoic Squirrel in the chat says you can't solve mental health. No, but I think that we can make it better. That's the beauty of the American experiment, is that we try to solve hard problems. This is obviously a divisive and hard problem, and I will not stand idly by and say that we can't solve it. We better damn well be able to try. David writes, I'm currently going back in time and listening to some of my favorite podcasts of the past. Long before I was a political pundit, Brian Brushwood and me, this is him writing. Long before you were a political pundit, Brian Brushwood and yourself were guests on the podcast Forecast, hosted by Scott Johnson and Tom Merritt. In 2010, in episode 38, during the final segment called 4 Questions, Tom asked when the first robot would become president. Your answer at the time was the year 2020. Do you still believe that a robot has a chance in the next election? Oh, my God. I'll tell you what. I'm out here talking mad shit about politicians, and finally somebody dug into my past to give me the business. No, I do not stand by my previous statement that I believe there will be a robot president in 2020. I think that we are probably decades off from a robot president. Now, robot cabinet members? Or more of what a cabinet member does being outsourced to robotics? Yeah. But I think that we love the pageantry of electing a president, and I don't think that we're going to go much far away from that. But how fucking funny is that? I feel like somebody should dig up that quote and make an attack ad against me. Justin Young says that a robot will be president in 2020. So yes, I guess that makes me a flip-flopper. I'm flip-flopping on the president robot issue. There we go. There we go. I am definitely straight cold busted. All right, everybody. You can go ahead and send us your own email at JustinRobertYoung theyoungamerican@gmail.com. theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Tell you what, we got room in the mailbag segment this week. So please go ahead and send us your thoughts on Jerusalem, on Brexit. Hey, if somebody can explain to me the Brexit thing, I would love that. Please, somebody over there in the UK. I know we got a ton of UK listeners. Go ahead and email me your idea on the Brexit. Give me a summation on the Brexit thing. Of course, you can buy stickers. Stickers or DIAF. Stickers or DIAF. Right now, we've got the holiday stuff in stock. I'm wearing my Diamond Club pin here right now. Let me go ahead and zoom in. Got the Diamond Club pin. We got the Please Don't Die pin right there. The pin set's $24.99. We are running low on them. So if you want them, you better go ahead right now. Stickers or DIAF.com. We also got our new mega pack. Normally it's always a $20 mega pack, but now for the holidays, we are bringing shit out of the vault. So all of the Carter Johnson art, all of the Spearmint Nitrate art, it's back in the pack just until Christmas. So head on over there right now. We also got the Diamond Club patches. They are available as long as they last. And, man, that will not be long considering how few of them they are. All right, everybody. Music has been provided by Valesco and Tropkillers. You can follow me, Justin R. Young, everywhere. Snapchat, Instagram, wherever you find social media networks. And you can download the archived episodes of this show at bonerwars.com.
Politics, 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 politics.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you, some shows talk about politics, others talk about politics, still more, and they're talking about politics. This is the only show
Yes.
talks about all three. I will see you guys next week.
Come on, come on, come on.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.